Hello, lovelies. This is 5 Minute Manifesting, and I'm your host, Lovey Brown. Thank you so much for listening. I'm thrilled that you're here. And today I want to talk to you about what is focus. What is focus? So I often say on this podcast, your focus is what manifests. It's where your focus is the majority of the time. That is what's manifesting into your 3D reality. So what does that mean? And I know I did an episode on that pretty recently, but I wanted to talk specifically about what focus is. And so I looked up the definition to just the word focus. And the definition is, there's several, it has a few different definitions, but one of them I thought was really useful for what we're talking about. The state or quality of having or producing clear visual definition. And so that's really about like a picture, right? Like when you see something, but I think that's really applicable to what I'm talking about. It's that clarity of that picture that you have in your imagination and what you're thinking about and how much you're thinking about it. That is your focus. That is where your focus is. And so how can you tell? Very often, the image that people have in their minds that is the clearest, that gets the most focus, is what they've already known. So like what they're experiencing day after day and what they've come to believe is their reality, right? I mean, and to a certain extent, we all practice this. It's just easy, right? It's just easy to practice. Like, this is what I saw, this is what I believe, this is what's in my imagination now, and you're just going to continue to practice that belief and that focus on those things, right? You see these things in your surroundings, you have this experience with relationships, you have this experience with people you've dated or had romantic relationships with, and that's what builds your belief around what is true, what you have, what you've experienced. And you just continue to focus on it and believe it. And when I say focus on it, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're persistently thinking about that state or that quality, right? So let's say you've been single for a long time and you're manifesting a specific person. So like it doesn't mean that you're constantly thinking like I'm single, like it's a robotic affirmation, like the way I just said it just now. But it does mean that potentially, you've practiced that state of singleness so much that it feels so natural. And, Neville Goddard talks about how, you need to practice in your imagination until you develop the tones of reality, the tones of naturalness. And so you just believe it because you're like, well, and this makes sense to me. And I, sometimes I even find myself in this trap even now. That's what's true, right? Like that's what's true. And I like to encourage people because I do believe this, like you don't have to shy away from like, this is just the true facts of right now, right this now moment, but you don't want to dwell there. And there's a difference. There's a very subtle difference about acknowledging and being like, yeah, that's I'm single, that's right. And moving on and putting your focus on something else and dwelling on I'm single and I'm never going to find anyone and like this is just how it's always been. It's been this way for 3 years now, and that's really focusing on it. When you're having conversations with your friends, when you're having conversations with, your loved ones or whoever's in your life, or if you're just having conversations with yourself about it, that's where your focus is. Now, let's take this sort of state, this quality of being single, and if you're just happy being single, then you're good, right? There's no need to focus on something else. You're not trying probably to manifest a specific person. And then there's also a state in which you're happy being single, but you're also trying to manifest a specific person. Now, the reason, right, Abraham Hicks often says that the reason you're trying to manifest whatever it is you're trying to manifest is because you believe you will be happier in the having of that situation or thing or whatever it is, right? you believe you'll be happier, right? And often when we're manifesting a specific person, we believe that we would be happier if that specific person were in our life, in the type of relationship we want to have with them. And there's nothing wrong with that, right? There's nothing wrong with believing that you would be happier in that situation. But what I want to encourage you with is when you turn back to this idea of this like being single state, that doesn't mean that you need to be unhappy there, right? So I guess I was just using the example of like, if you're happy being single, then you're not probably trying to manifest a specific person. But like, you don't have to also, if you're manifesting a relationship, a romantic relationship, a love relationship, you don't have to focus on your singleness as like a defining sort of clear visual fact about yourself. It's just there and it's fine. And you can acknowledge it if it comes up, but you don't have to bring it up. And you don't have to dwell on it in your imagination. That's not where your focus has to be. But often that is where our focus is because it just feels true and it just feels like this is it and I'm focused on it because this is what's happening. This is the reality. But you don't have to leave your focus there. You don't have to leave your imagination there. In your imagination, you can go anywhere you want. You can be in the best, happiest relationship of your life. Now, and I know when you hear that and you haven't been in a relationship in a long time and that's what you're manifesting, that can feel like, I don't even know. I don't even know what it would be like. And that makes sense, and I understand that. But you just want to try it on. You just want, honestly, I hesitate to use this word, although I know I've used it in previous podcasts. You're going to pretend. You're going to go in your imagination and you're going to pretend until you feel good. And you're going to practice. Like, this is a practice. And I know manifesting is easy. Like, it's pretty simple, right? I'm just telling you, go in your imagination, practice inner conversations, practice focusing on what you want. Like, that's all easy. What makes it hard, what makes it difficult is that, like, you've been practicing a different way for a long time. For a long time. And so when you're learning this new way of focusing, you're in imagination in a different direction, different route towards the things that you want. It's just something that you're going to have to practice over and over again in a pretty disciplined way, if I'm honest, right? That's how come tools and techniques are so useful, in my opinion, because those techniques are tools that you can use to create this practice. Now, they're not the mechanism by which the things manifest, right? Like, just because you did robotic affirmations, and I've had success using robotic affirmations, doesn't mean that the robotic affirmations themselves are what manifested your relationship or your money or whatever. It just means that is a way that you were able to practice focusing your imagination in a new direction in a disciplined, consistent way that took your focus to what you wanted. And that's what you're practicing here. And so I feel like I maybe got off track a little bit in this episode, but that's okay. So I just want to say to you that you absolutely can do this. You absolutely can put your focus, that clear picture of what you want. You can dwell there. You can go to that place in your imagination. It just takes a little bit of discipline to train your focus where you want it to go. And so with that, may you manifest exactly what you want.